Okay, well, welcome to the webinar. Let's see. Good. How's everybody doing tonight? Good. Let's see who is joining us. All right. So I see Alicia. Welcome. Beverly. Bibby. Welcome. Carla. Charles. Deanna. Good. Hey, Deanna. Deborah. Desiree. Donna. Elise. Iris. Jay. Hi, welcome to the webinar. Let's see who else we got here. Hi, Belinda, I see you. Jim, welcome to the webinar. John, Johnny, Juanita Jr., Karen, I see you. Larissa, Lee. Hi, Chanel, I see you. Welcome to the webinar. Hi, Lilia. Hi, Pamela. Let's see, Lynn, Marilyn, welcome. Nancy, Pamela, Rachel, Rick, Rose, Ruby, Sandra. I can't keep up, guys. I'm having a hard time. All right, a lot of people are joining us. Welcome to the Type 2 Diabetes Reversal. I'm Dr. Jonathan Spages. A lot of information to go over. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to let people hop on. Everybody's, new to Zoom, trying to click which button. You know how that goes, right? Technology. So anyway, good. Rick, welcome. Roseanne, Rose. Great, Rose, Sandra, Sharon, Stacy, Susan, Travis, did I say that right? Vicky, welcome. Great. All right, good. All right, I hope everybody's having an awesome day today. All right, good. And more people are hopping on. So let me give them a few moments. All right, good. All right, good. If I missed you in the beginning, let me see if I can scroll through and see if I see anybody new. Hi, Charles. Hi, William. Welcome to the webinar. Hi, Jim, Daniela, David, a couple Davids. All right, Donna. All right, Gail, welcome. Hi, Gail. D is on, I see. Iris, Jabari, welcome. Hi, Rose. All right, good. Hi, Joe. I see there's a Joe here, a couple of Joes, a couple of Karens. LB, welcome. Lewis, Louisa, MJ, awesome. All right, good. All right, so real quick, for those of you who have never been on Zoom, some of you have never followed me or read any of my books or what have you. So today's going to be jam-packed with a lot of information. So what I like to do before I start any webinar or seminar or I'm on radio or TV, I like to kind of give a little orientation of what we're going to be doing and also how to kind of use Zoom, especially if this is one of your first ones that you've been on. So first off, what you'll notice is there is a chat section. Now, in that chat section, you can certainly participate. My staff is on as well, so they can help you through the process. However, if you put anything in the chat, because there's so many people, there's over 100 people on this particular webinar, I'm going to miss it just because it gets all jam-packed. Like everybody comes into one feed and I can't see it. Okay, so if you do put something in the chat, I'll have a hard time seeing it. My staff could see it, so they could sometimes give that data over to me, but usually it's a little tricky for me. If you have any questions, now, if you've never followed me or seen any of my videos or what have you, I'm going to probably cover about 99% of your questions you have about type 2 diabetes and all the things related to reversing type 2 diabetes. So if I don't get to what your question may be, there is a Q&A section that you can put your question, and it kind of stands alone. I can see it very easy. It's very easy to get to. So during the webinar, even after the webinar, if you have any questions, put that in that Q&A section, and I'll have a few minutes to actually go and to actually go over those particular questions. All right. Also, I just got a message from someone suggesting that I have it's hard to hear me. Is everybody having a hard time hearing me? All right. If you can hear me and see me in that chat area, just say hello. I want to make sure the visual is and the sound is good. So if you could hear me and see me, okay. Okay, good. So you guys can hear me. So if anybody's having difficulty with the volume, you may just want to change that on your phone. Maybe go over to speakerphone. Hi, Lily. Hi, Steph. All right, good. Thanks, guys, for helping me on this. Yep, just make sure the audio is good. All right, great. Thank you. All right, thanks, Joe. Oh, Belinda's got, oh, I can't. Oh, I like that. She has like a little cheerleader thing. That's kind of cool. Okay, good. All right, so anyway, in that chat area, like I said, that's something that there's so many people, I just have a hard time actually getting there. But if you have any specific questions, thank you, Linda, for telling me you can hear me. You want to put that in that Q&A section. All right. The next thing I'm going to mention is I want to do a quick exercise. And this exercise is very simple. You'll see a little area there on your Zoom button where it says raise hand. I just like to see how many people know how to click that button and raise your hand. Wow. Okay, good. All right. There's a few Johns that have joined us also. Good. Okay, thanks, Charles. I appreciate that. Yep. Awesome. Okay, good. All right. So excellent. At the end of the webinar, there's going to be an opportunity for you. The way you'll take advantage of that is by raising your hand. So if you have any difficulty doing this, if this is new for you, my staff will help you with that. All right, good. All right, excellent. Now, the next thing is I'm going to be covering a lot of information. I'm going to try to comprise this much information into a very short period of time. So I do recommend that it's good to kind of put the distractions away. It's always like, you ever have someone with you in the movies, right, when they talk at the wrong moment, right? Like the reveal is happening, or you're going to find out who did the murder, and then they start talking to you. It's kind of like that with a webinar. Like the information you may need to hear is actually the time when something could be distracting. The dog barks, the kids and what have you. So I do recommend if there's any way to lessen that, it will be the best for you because you'll get the most out of it. All right. The next thing is I go over a lot of information. And with that being said, it is good to have a piece of paper and pen because there are going to be parts of this that you can really grab onto because I'm going to be going over the 3 steps to reversing diabetes. And when I get to that section of this particular webinar, it's really good to have that piece of paper and pen ready so you can take the notes so you can get the most out of this and really learn what the steps are so you can obviously improve your quality of health and your diabetes. All right. The next thing is great. So Junior, you're asking great questions already. We'll save this to the end because I'll be covering a lot of that. So the next thing is I really want to I guess congratulate you for being here. And I know that's kind of unusual, right? Like you just had to click a button and actually attend a webinar. But honestly, it takes some bravery, some courage to step outside the box, right? I know what the box is as a diabetic, right? It's what they tell every diabetic. They tell you that you can never reverse diabetes. You'll always be a diabetic. You just have to diet and lose some weight, take a medication for the rest of your life, right? We've all heard this, or you may have heard, mom or dad, it's genetic. So mom or dad has it. There's nothing you can do about it. And let me tell you, we're going to get into all of that particularly, but you can reverse type 2 diabetes. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. And you're going to know the exact steps necessary to reverse type 2 diabetes. I've been doing this for over 20 years. I've had over 10,000 cases in my office, full-blown diabetic, walk out non-diabetic, off of medication. We had one person today off of 5 medications. We had another person yesterday off of 3 medications. We do this every single day in my office, and I'm going to show you what these patients are doing after they tried the diet. They thought it was genetic. They tried the CBD oil. They tried the magical diet, which we know is nonsense. They ate cardboard for 3 months, right? Because they're so desperate on trying to get help. I'm going to show you the right way to do it. So you can leave here with some hope, right? You don't have to stay hopeless with this particular disease. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to be getting into that. We're going to talk about reversing diabetes. We're going to get into diet, genetics, how to actually go after reversing diabetes the right way, right? The correct way to do it. And then we'll also get into exercise and all those things. So a lot of information. I will try to do my best not to talk too fast because I just want to jam everything in. All right, so the first thing I want to mention is that you can reverse type 2 diabetes despite everything you are told. And the premise behind this is just something really, really powerful that's within you already, right? And what that is that's the power to actually go and heal. So let me give you a quick example, right? When I was in graduate school, it's not really like this nowadays when you become a doctor, but back when I was, going through school, we actually did autopsies. We had people that were no longer living. They would donate their bodies to science. And we would go and literally area by area of that body, literally take it down to the cell, basically. And if you took a person who was no longer living and you cut them, and you take someone like yourself who's alive and you also cut them, it's pretty simple, right? You'll find out that in a few days, the person who's living you actually heal, right? Your body actually heals. Even though in a body, it may have the same amount of air in the lungs, it may weigh the same, it may have all the same pieces, it doesn't have life in it. Whatever you want to call that, God, life, the power of the body, whatever you want to call that, your body is born to heal. And that's the thing that I'm going to be focusing on. Now, it sounds common sense, but it's not really applied like that as a type 2 diabetic. So I'm going to show you how to get the body to start healing. I'm going to talk to you about what to do, what not to do, and all the things that you've probably been told opposite. I'm going to show you the right way, right? I'm going to show you the right way of how to do it. Okay, so the first thing you're probably wondering is, who is this crazy doctor talking about reversing diabetes? Why does he wear pink shirts? What maybe you're wondering that. For those of you who've been following me for a while, that is a shirt. So anyway, so my name is Dr. Jonathan Spages. I've been reversing type 2 diabetes for over 20 years. I'm a published author. I have 2 more books coming out. I am also going to be the head speaker for a diabetes conference this coming May. I'm the head person talking about my success rate. I've been on many radio programs, TV programs. I have over 2 million views on YouTube. I used to be doctor for a professional sports team. And one thing you'll know is that I absolutely love helping patients, particularly diabetics, which you'll learn about closer to the end of this particular webinar. And you're going to understand why my passion is driven to making sure this profession of mine, which is functional medicine, helps diabetics reverse their disease. It is something personal to me. It is something that you'll understand more about as we get through. So anyway, I've been doing this, like I said, for over 20 years. My success rate is about 97%. That means that when people come to my office after trying diets and exercise and the metformin, the glipizide, glyburide, all the medications, our success rate is 97%. Now, I would love it to be 100%, but obviously, the body heals in the way it heals. And honestly, the way the industry is with type 2 diabetics, even if we were 10%, it would still be better than the industry standard. So I'll take 90% and plus. And I'm really proud of this. It's something I've worked really hard for. I've studied a long time, and obviously our success rate is amazing. So what I like to do is I want to talk about the kind of get everybody on the same playing ground. In this particular webinar, some people are pre-diabetic, right, which we'll talk about in a moment. Others are full-blown diabetic, where they're taking some sort of diabetic medication. And there are others of you who have maybe gone through a complication, which is horrible, maybe an amputation, maybe blindness, maybe something bad, right? Diabetes does bad things, right? So anyway, I'm going to just get everybody on the same playing ground. And this way, everybody can understand maybe where you fit in this debacle of diabetes. So first thing we look at is, when I look at any particular case that comes into my office, the first thing I want to look at is I want to get a very good health history of them. Understanding what their recent A1C was, what their blood sugar level is, the medications they're taking. And most patients that I meet with one-on-one, they fill out like about 10 pages worth of paperwork. It's not a lot of paperwork, but it's just really detailed. And the story, when I talk to anybody who's been diagnosed as a diabetic, it's kind of the same, right? Most times when you were diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic, you didn't know on day one that you were a diabetic, right? Maybe you went in and you got physical. Maybe you just had the flu or physical. I've heard some people talk about going in for a life insurance policy, right? And that they get a physical. And it kind of goes like this, right? If you remember that day when you were diagnosed, you walk in there not expecting to hear any sort of grave danger. And the doctor, the nurse practitioner, or someone else in the office comes in. They usually had you run labs before you got there. And it kind of goes like this, sir, ma'am, I have some news for you. I got your labs back, and it appears on your labs that you're a diabetic. And you're sitting there like, oh my God, I'm a diabetic. What the heck, right? Like, how did this happen? And they say, well, you're just going to have to do some changes, right? You're going to have to start eating healthier, change your diet. Common sense, right? You need to go exercise. And then usually at that point is when the pen comes out, right? The pen and the script pad. And they go and they take the script pad out and the pen, and they start loading you up with the diabetic medications. Typically, it's metformin. Typically, not always, but typically. They give you what I call the diabetic cocktail. It's the one size fits all for anybody who's a diabetic, right? It's the blood sugar drug, the cholesterol drug, the blood pressure medication, and they send you out to the pharmacy. So you're there kind of in shock, right? And you're like, oh man, what the heck am I? How am I a diabetic? Maybe it's genetic. You start wondering, like, oh, I've been eating a lot more junk food or whatever, right? You're just trying to think of all the things that could have been causing this. So anyway, you leave, you go to the pharmacy, you start picking up your medication. And the goal is, if you didn't know at that time, the goal is to lower your A1C. A1C essentially tells a diabetic how bad they're doing, right? Like are they doing, and is diabetes really taking advantage of them and really hurting them, or is diabetes kind of just staying where it is, right? And so forth. Another side fact, not to put humor into something serious, but believe it or not, the first ways they used to test to see if someone was a diabetic, sit down, stay seated on this, they used to have people sip urine to see if it was sweet. So there used to be the idea that diabetes meant sweet urine. True story. Thank God there's labs now, and you don't have to worry about giving your urine to someone to sip, because that sounds like a pretty bad job. Anyway, let's get back into it. So you get diagnosed as a diabetic. You go home, you have this list of medication now, the blood sugar drug, the cholesterol drug, the blood pressure medication, and you are very optimistic, which is awesome, that you're going to beat your diabetes, because you're going to start changing your diet. You're going to get rid of all the stuff you shouldn't eat. The cookies, the cakes, the donuts, all the stuff that, people just know aren't healthy for them. Sometimes you may have enough energy or may enough power in you to go and start exercising. So you go there, you buy some nice shoes, you start walking, you start going to the gym and so forth, right? All with the hopes of getting your blood sugar level down, right? So far you're tracking, right? Getting what I'm saying? So you'll find out that as you go back to your doctor at some point, what's going to happen is that your blood sugar levels, right, they go higher. So what the doctor says is they kind of, maybe beat on you a little bit. Hey, listen, you got to watch your diet a little bit better. You got to exercise more. And hey, since you're taking a half dosage of metformin, now let's increase the dosage. Instead of doing it 500, let's do 1,000. So you're like, all right, I hate taking medication, but if I got to do it, I got to do it. So you start doing that routine, right? And then you go home, maybe you start Googling some videos, maybe you try a diet, keto, paleo, whatever, right? There's tons of different diets out there, all with the hopes of lowering your A1C, which is all a great idea. So you try your diet, you try to do whatever you need to do there. And then what you'll notice is at some point as a diabetic, it doesn't work. You start seeing your blood sugar levels go up. And you're trying, maybe you are staying away from the desserts and the cookies and the stuff that you shouldn't be taking. And you're disappointed because you're working and you should be losing weight. You should be going and actually improving your blood sugar, but you're not. It's actually not getting you where you want to be. And it is disappointing. It's a little scary because you would hope that this treatment that you're taking, this drug and diet and exercise treatment, would actually get you somewhere. You'd want it to get you where you want it to be, right? As a type 2 diabetic. And then what you hear when you go back to the doctor is take more medication, or let's give this a try. When I first started doing this 20 years ago, there was like 12 popular medications, right? Now it's unbelievable how many more medications there are for type 2 diabetes. Why do they keep coming out with more diabetic meds? They should be getting better. Like if you think about this is what really annoys me. This is my frustration. And this is something that has been annoying me ever since I started working with type 2 diabetics. You should be better by now. Like if you're taking a medication every single day for 365 days out of the year, and you've done that for over 10 years, you've had 3,650 pills. You should be better. You should be better. You should not have 3,000 attempts of something and get worse over time. And that's what annoys me. I'm from New Jersey. You guys probably know my history. It pisses me off because this is not what healthcare is designed to do. You shouldn't be doing a treatment and getting worse, right? My kids are into sports. I have 3 kids. My son, actually, I just took him to a really awesome basketball game recently. But my son's in basketball, my daughter's in volleyball, my other one's in gymnastics. And sometimes my kids are really good in their sport, but I'll have them work with somebody, right? And I pay them, right? 30 bucks, 40 bucks to have them work with someone who's really good at the sport, whether it be basketball or volleyball or whatever. If I'm paying someone, my child should not get worse in the sport. Meaning, like, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. They shouldn't be looking worse when they're playing the game. They should be looking better. And that's exactly the point. Is the point is you're taking pill after pill after pill after pill, drug after drug after drug after drug. When does it start working? And it's insane, right? Have you guys ever heard that quote? What's the quote? It says, insanity is the definition of doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, right? Trying your diet, trying to lose weight, taking a pill, diet, exercise, try the pill, this is not your fault. It's our healthcare system's fault. It's our healthcare system that creates these issues. And in my opinion, the whole let's wait and see what happens is not the right way to do it. In my opinion, I think there's got to be a better way. But honestly, you may disagree, but I think they're pumping too much meds into our people, right? I think there are too many medications out there, right? There used to be just metformin and a couple others. Now there's metformin, glipizide, glyburide, Januvia, Genumed, Trulicity, Ozempic, the new hot drug, right? We'll talk about that in a second. And then you have all your insulins. Like, when does it stop? And the answer is it doesn't. And I'll explain to you why. And I've heard some diabetics said they hate being pumped with meds. They hate feeling like a cow in line. Every time they go to their doctor, they got 5 minutes. How are you doing? Oh, you're doing great. Refill your meds. Have a nice day. Oh, here, refill your meds every 3 months. Hey, refill your meds every 3 months. And how many times have someone gone to the doctor? I'm sorry, I'm ranting. It just really annoys me. And I'm very passionate about this subject. How many times has someone gone to the doctor and just don't get it? The doctor's like, hey, you're doing good. You look great. Everything's great. And before you leave, refill your prescription. And you're thinking there in the back of your head, if I'm so healthy, then why am I so sick? Like, it doesn't make sense. If I am so well and I look so good, then why am I sick? It's like, you ever kind of sad to say, but you ever have someone go to a wake when someone passes away and they're like, hey, they look great. It's like they're not alive. I don't know what that means. It's just, it doesn't, I don't know. My brain doesn't register that way. The point is that as a type 2 diabetic, the system, the insurance companies, the drug companies, they just kind of allow you to stay sick. And when someone goes to their doctor or their health professional and the doctor is giving them all these medications and they're saying you're doing good, it's a lie. And don't accept that because it's not true. A type 2 diabetic is a life-threatening chronic degenerative disease that leads to an early death. I have doctors and nurses who are patients in my office. I have patients who are morticians who are patients in my office. Do you know what the toe tag says? COVID, underlying diabetes. Heart disease, underlying diabetes. Diabetes drives these diseases. And it's real scary when you take one medication after another medication after another medication and eventually onto insulin, which is the last resort as a type 2 diabetic, and you're sitting there trying to get your blood sugar level down and it's just not biting. And there's nothing after insulin. There's nothing after insulin. That's it. When that doesn't work, it's over. And that's unfortunately where most diabetics start having complications. And they're on this same bus, and it doesn't have to be that way. It's not easy to go there and continue to try to diet and try to take medications, and it doesn't work. And a lot of times people lose hope, disappointment, and failure. And I'm here to tell you that it does not have to be that way. And you could actually get out of this trap and this box. And you do not have to let your life ride on like that, like they told you what to do and they said that there's no other options. And I'm going to be showing you exactly the steps to take that I've seen thousands of times in my office that actually show you how to actually go about reversing diabetes the right way. So are you ready now? Because now is the time where we're going to go into what it takes to actually reverse diabetes. So there's about another 50 people that have joined this webinar. So I want to welcome you. You probably came into when I was heated and my blood pressure was high. But this is going to be a I promise you at the end, it's going to be a very upbeat thing because I'm an upbeat person. Okay. So let's do this. What I'd like to do is if you are there and you have a piece of paper and a pen, now is the time because I'm going to start getting into the 3 steps to reversing diabetes. Okay. So if you have a piece of paper and pen, okay, good. And then let me just do this really quick. Let's take a little intermission here for a second. Can everybody still hear me and also see me? Because I heard a few people mentioning that the video is kind of sticky a little bit or something. Just is everybody okay? Everybody can hear me still? Thank you, guys. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Good, awesome. So just really quick for those, thank you, Rose. There's a few, Pam, Sandra, thank you. All right, good. All right, excellent. Very good. And then for those of you that have hopped on, awesome. There's a couple areas. There's that chat area. I can't get to everybody because there's so many people on the webinar. And then there's a Q&A section. The Q&A section is where you could ask questions if I don't get to the particular question you may have about reversing diabetes. All right. So, and I'll have some time at the end of the webinar to answer questions. Usually I'm pretty familiar with most of the questions, but you may have something specific. All right. So first off, let me give you a little bit of diabetic education from a different point of view. That I think you would really benefit from. Okay, so the first thing, so I won't have enough time to do this, but sometimes I ask the question when I'm on TV or radio, but I can't do that tonight. So let's talk about first off what's normal blood sugar levels. Okay, normal blood sugar levels, write this down, is between 85 and 99. So 85 to 99. So the way to think about what normal blood sugar level is, it's about the temperature of a shower or a hot tub. Actually, legally, a hot tub cannot be over 104 degrees. It's a law, believe it or not. So anyway, 85 to 99 degrees is where your blood sugar level should be fasting. So this is when you wake up in the morning after you weren't eating throughout the night, and so forth. And it should be between 85 and 99 points, right? So when you become a diabetic, okay, your blood sugar levels have to be over 126 and your A1C is over 6.4, okay? A1C is, and I know some of you know this, but everybody's, maybe new to diabetes on the webinar. Some of you may be unfamiliar with this, but your A1C tells you the speed in which your diabetes is progressing. And that number is a kind of a longer period of time. It's not a day-to-day. It's more of a longer period of time. And that should be under 5.7. Okay, so let me give you those numbers again. Healthy blood sugar level is 85 to 99. And your A1C, okay, your A1C should be under 5.7. And here's the catch, without medication. So some of you are able to drug your body so much that maybe your numbers look good, but it's without medication. That is what a healthy human being on this planet is. Anything besides that is unhealthy. Okay. So now let me tell you about how our healthcare system it doesn't really align with health. And first of all, let me just back up a little bit. We don't have a healthcare system. We have a sick care system, right? When you get sick, you go to your doctor. We don't have like a wellness sort of a way of healthcare in our country, right? So the way our healthcare system essentially works for these chronic diseases, okay, is that like when we look at the proper functioning of the body is what's most important, okay? So let's look at it like a car. So if you look at a car, there are 4 tires. Each tire should be fully inflated. It shouldn't be partially deflated. It shouldn't be flat. That'd be the worst thing, right? Because if you had a flat tire, you can crash. A lot of things that can happen, right? So the way our healthcare system works is that they allow, especially for diabetes and cholesterol and all those other things, they allow the tire to get deflated. Okay. So what do I mean by this and how does this relate to you? Well, there's no such thing as pre-diabetes, right? You either have a proper functioning air in the tire or you do not. What pre-diabetes is that your tire is flattening, right? It's deflating, air is leaking, and your doctor's like, well, it's leaking, but it's not leaking bad enough to give you a drug. But when it is bad enough and your A1C is bad and now you're a diabetic, then we'll give you a drug. It's either fully inflated or it's not. It's pretty black and white. but they allow you once again to get sick, right? And some of you have been pre-diabetic before you were diagnosed. All they were doing is saying you're pre-diabetic. Let's give some time to it. All right, let's give it another. Oh, wait, he's not ready yet. Nope, no. Oh, now he's sick. Now he's sick enough to drug him. All right, let's go. Let's now drug him. It's crazy. It just doesn't make any sense. Anyway, that is unfortunately the way it goes. So let's talk about what the problem is with the medications, because this is really important. So the problem with the medication is, you'd be like, duh. So the problem with the medication is it's not designed to fix anything, right? We talked about this earlier. If you've taken thousands and thousands of pills, cholesterol pills, blood pressure pills, diabetic medications, and it didn't fix the problem, is not going to start fixing it tomorrow. Ozempic is not going to start fixing the problem tomorrow. It's just the new flavor of the month, right? It's just a new hot, expensive drug that costs hundreds of dollars, and they're just raking it in because they hear that you could lose weight. But what happens is, yeah, some people do lose weight. Other people wind up in a hospital. And then when that drug wears off, guess what happens to the weight? It comes right back up. And the way the drugs are working, they're essentially just Band-Aids. That's all they are. And when we look at this, right, and this is going to be something really important to understand about reversing diabetes. You'll see how this all ties in a moment. When you have a problem, blood sugar, cholesterol, weight, energy, that's not really the problem. That's just the smoke. In order to have smoke, there needs to be a fire. Fires. The problem with the medication, even natural things, there are people who sell vitamins and CBD oil and blah, 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 is it's not putting out the fire. It's actually just addressing the smoke. And I think it's common sense to think that if you just keep working on the smoke and you don't put out the fire, the smoke never goes away. Yeah, there are times where the smoke is a little bit less, and there are times where the smoke is more. But the point of the matter is that you got to put out the fire. And when you're worrying about weight or blood sugar, that's not the problem. The problem is that's the smoke, right? I'll give you another analogy that I think you'll understand. So in my kitchen, there is a garbage can like in everybody's kitchen. And my kids are real busy, so sometimes they forget to put out the garbage, right? Because, it gets loaded, everybody's there, right? I have a family of 5, so it gets pretty busy. So anyway, let's say you leave the garbage there and it starts smelling, right? And it's nasty. The garbage is, it's pretty nasty. Well, you have a couple options. The first thing you could do is sit there and go and say, I'm going to handle this bad smell of this garbage. Go get me a spray. So you go there and you run to the closet, you grab your spray, and you're spraying the room, right? They spray all over the place. Well, great. You can't smell that garbage anymore. Super duper. We're on to the next day. And then the next day comes around and it's starting to get a little bit nastier because things are rotting. God knows what's happening in there, right? Mold and critters and who knows, right? You go out and say, I need an extra strength. I need extra strength, right? And you go there and you start spraying the garbage again, right? Or the room again. The point is, that's essentially what they're doing with your diabetes, your cholesterol, and your blood pressure. They're not going there and taking out the garbage and putting it outside. All they're doing is they're just keeping putting Band-Aid after Band-Aid after Band-Aid after Band-Aid. And if you're not aware that these are Band-Aids, you're going to have a hard time understanding how to actually go about and get yourself better. That's why I'm really emphasizing this. Okay, so let's go into the first thing that's important of the 3 steps of reversing diabetes. You ready? Piece of paper and pen. First thing, the first step, you got to find what is broken. You essentially have to find the garbage. That's or where the fire is. That's kind of the key point. You have to find the garbage, the fire. Now, there's ways of doing that. In my office, the way I do it is I go and send people out for a lot of labs. Blood tests, but like way more tests than most doctors run for blood tests. Saliva testing, spit testing, stool testing. I figure out where this garbage is at with a ton of testing, right? But let's talk about the organs that get involved and kind of what I've seen with helping thousands of patients. Okay, so first, there are 4 organs, we'll call these the 4 tires again, that control blood sugar. So in order for you to be a type 2 diabetic, one or more of these organs have to be either deflated or flat. All right, I'll repeat that again because that was a lot of new information maybe. So there are 4 organs that control your metabolism. In order for you to be a type 2 diabetic, 1, 2, 3, or 4 of these organs have to either be a little deflated or flat. Going back to this car analogy, okay? Let's go through each one. The first one we look at is your liver. I have never, ever, in seeing tens of thousands of diabetics, have ever seen a proper functioning liver in a type 2 diabetic. Now, what are you talking about? Well, number one is when you run your basic lab panel for your liver, when you look at the numbers on the far right side of the lab, those aren't healthy numbers. Like we use LabCorp. We use LabCorp for the last almost 20 years. And LabCorp's ranges vary from place to place. When I was in New Jersey practicing for 18 years, their ranges are different than Florida. Now that I'm in Florida, the ranges are different. So just because you fall within that range doesn't mean that's the healthy range. Those are the pathological ranges that they can start giving you drugs with, right? So there are other liver tests that insurance companies and doctors don't run because it doesn't warrant necessarily a change in treatment. They're still going to give you your cholesterol med. They're still going to give you your basic drugs. So it doesn't make any sense for them or the insurance companies to run tests. Now, if you want to reverse diabetes, yes, that test is really important. So I will say this again, the liver is vital. The liver is your quarterback, right? Like the liver is so important for making sure your metabolism is working, okay? So that's one of the tires. The next tire we look at is thyroid. Now, thyroid is a very interesting subject. If you're a female, you probably know more about thyroid than men do, okay? Now, I have an autoimmune disease to my thyroid, so I'm obviously very versed in it. So this is crazy. So the thyroid is really, really important. It regulates energy, blood sugar, sleep, mood, tiredness, all those sort of things, right? Even by bowel movements, right? Thyroid is hugely, like, it's so important. Well, if you really push your doctor and if you have Medicare or any basic insurance and you really push them, they'll run 3 labs on you for your thyroid. TSH, T3, and T4, okay? I don't want to get too technical. I want to keep it very simple. But do you know there are 11 thyroid tests? There are 11 thyroid tests and they're running 3 on you. It doesn't take a dummy to figure out that if you want all the data on your thyroid and knowing exactly what's going on, 3 tests ain't doing it. And the point is that our insurance, now this is not the same type of insurance and healthcare system from 40 years ago. They ran everything on you. They didn't care. Now it's like every year, it's like, nope, we give you less and less and less. And if you're a nurse or a doctor on here who's older than me, you know what I'm talking about, right? They used to do like a Chem 22. Now they do like a Chem 14. It's lab talk. Don't worry about it if you don't know what that means, right? But the point is they do less and less. Your thyroid is vital to regulating blood sugar levels, right? Losing weight. So that's your next tire. The next one we talk about is your pancreas. Now, the way you've been told is that your pancreas is broken. That's why you're a diabetic, right? That's what's out there all over the internet, what have you. The problem with that is that's not entirely true. As a matter of fact, it's mostly false. As a type 2 diabetic, your pancreas is working. The problem is that it's not able to actually get the sugar into the cell, which creates insulin resistance. So let me explain this to you. Okay, so this is the cells of your body. Let's say my blue pen here is the sugar, and this other hand here is insulin. Insulin, sugar, cell. Your body is made of trains of cells. The insulin is like a little cab driver, and it drives this person, the sugar, into the cell. That's what it's supposed to do. As a type 2 diabetic, you've lost that ability. So when you try to get the sugar here, it doesn't go in. And then when you check on your glucometer or your CGM, your continuous glucose monitor, or you get your blood drawn and they check your numbers and your numbers are high, it's because that sugar can't get into the cell, okay? What they try to do is exhaust, I hate saying this, but they try to exhaust the pancreas with some of the medications, the metformin, the glipizide, glyburide, what have you, trying to get that blood sugar level to actually lower itself. My point to all what I'm saying is most diabetics, 9 out of 10 of them, your pancreas is working fine. So we go back to this car analogy, right? We got 2 tires that could be deflated. We got one that's probably working really good, despite the fact that they say it's not. And then we have last one. And the last one is the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands are little glands. They sit above your kidneys and they regulate blood sugar levels. The only way to actually look at the adrenal glands is actually with a spit test. And if you're sitting there thinking, a spit test? I never had a spit test. Yeah, I know. And you probably will never have a spit test because it's not the standard of care. You don't need a spit test to give people more Novolog or Humalog or Januvia or Genumet or Metformin. You don't need that. So our healthcare system is not even geared up to actually showing you where the fire is, right? There's fires going on. We know there's fires. The blood sugar level is high. The A1C is high. The weight is, you can't lose the weight. It's just, that's the smoke. You got to find where the fires are. Another thing, as a type 2 diabetic, most diabetics, and I'll just say this from just doing labs on diabetics, for the last 20 years, most diabetics have infections: roundworm, tapeworm, hookworm, fungus, yeast, parasites, what have you. Well, why would a diabetic have an infection? Well, what do you think bacteria like? Sugar. So when your blood sugar level is over 105 or 115 or whatever, you're fertilizing these critters. I had a case today. Actually, I'm sorry. I had 2 cases today, today's date, where literally they were riddled with infections. And what annoys me is, why am I the person telling them that? Why didn't all their doctors they've gone to, and the endocrinologists and nutritionists and everything, ever look for these things and do something about it? Now, I love it because I know how to help this person, and they're doing great, and they're obviously doing amazing. But my point is like, it's just a broken healthcare system that they're not even looking at what's causing it. They're not looking at what's causing the blood sugar, what's causing the weight issues, what's causing the energy, and they're blaming you because you're not exercising enough. And oh my God, you cheated on your diet one time. Let's talk about diet. Sorry, I'm going on a rant again. Here we go. There's no magical diet. That's it. I'm done. No, there's no magical diet. Okay. And the truth to be told is this, and think about this. We all know people, a person, someone on the planet who has a horrible diet. Horrible, horrible, horrible diet. Eat all junk food, eat all the wrong things. And that person is not a diabetic and they're this thin, right? Think of that person. And we all know someone, maybe even yourself, that you work your butt off to lose weight and you can't lose an ounce. And what is that telling us? Well, it wouldn't make any sense, because if it was food related only, and if it was only food, right? Well, guess what? The person that's eating healthy should be losing weight and their blood sugar level should be good. And the person that's eating horrible and doing all the wrong things, they should be really sick. And the truth be told is that's not really how it goes. How it goes is that there was a point in time where you were healthy. That's a fact, right? There was a point in time where you were healthy and everything was in balance, everything was working. And then life shows up, right? Work stress, kids, marriage, work, deaths in the family, blah, blah, blah. And there was a point in time where your body could no longer regulate itself. Maybe it was after a child. Maybe it was after the second child. Maybe hormones shifted and it just never shifted back. And from that point in time is where your body could not just regulate itself. And this is where it started going like this. And you try to do a diet, right? And then you're moving down further, and then you're trying something else, exercise and diet. And then there's a point where you can't do it anymore. And now you need drugs. And the drugs aren't fixing anything. So you wind up needing more drugs and more drugs and more drugs. And then eventually on to insulin. Yeah, it's like this. And the problem is that our healthcare system does nothing to show you what to do to get this back to this level. They tell you to go diet and exercise. And let me tell you, we already talked about diet. Diet is a healthy diet. It's meats, fruits, veggies, things like that. But you don't diet your way out of getting a liver better. You can't diet your way out of functioning and getting your thyroid function better. You can't diet your way out of fixing infections. If someone's going there and they have C. diff, which is a really serious infection, you're not having them eat celery to get it better. That would be negligent and stupid, right? But these things sit under diabetics and they're being completely ignored by our healthcare system. You're sitting there wondering why there's over 150 people on this webinar right now, all struggling the same way. It's because they're not giving you a roadmap out. Okay. So let's go back to the 3 steps of reversing diabetes. First step, you got to find where the fires are. You got to find out which tires are deflated. Okay. That is the first step. I will tell you this, doing this so many times, there's no there's no like one size fits all, meaning the reason why you're a diabetic is different than the next person on this webinar is a diabetic. If you have a twin sister or brother, it's going to be different, right? You guys could research all the people I've helped. I've had twins, like identical twins, completely different why they're a diabetic, right? One maybe have a little bit less air in the thyroid, the other one has a little bit less air in the liver, that sort of thing. So anyway, so the first step is you have to find what is causing the weight issues. What is causing the blood sugar? What is causing the cholesterol? Okay, really important. The second thing, step 2, you got to fix it. You can't just go there and have these things out of whack and not fix it. So in my office, what that looks like is a protocol. And in protocols in my office is it's very customized. I treat all natural. The things that I give patients are very custom to them, meaning that, yeah, like you're different than someone else, so your protocol would be different. The things that I recommend, these are not things you get on Amazon. This is a whole different level. You have to be a licensed doctor to do these things, but it works in layers. So if we look at a person who's a diabetic, it's kind of like an onion, right? Layer 1 for most diabetics is usually inflammation, right? Their body's majorly inflamed. And then each layer, as they get through it, right? That's how their body gets better and better and better, right? And that's how you start fixing these things, right? Now, I know the first thing you're probably wondering is like, what do I do? Just abandon all my drugs? No. The medications are keeping you alive, and thank God they are, right? So in my office, patients are staying on their medication as they are working on getting themselves better, putting out the fire, putting out the fire, putting out the fire. And then essentially, and you could research it. We had 2 people today that literally are off all their meds, right? Like, so as your body doesn't need the medication, that is how they're able to lessen medication, either with your doctor's help, which is really important, or in my staff, in my office, we have people in my office that are trained and licensed to help people do that. We'd rather not do that, rather than you're a doctor, but anyway. So the second step, okay, is to go there and fix it, okay? So first step is to find it, second step is to fix it, and then the third step is to balance it out, right? Meaning once you get yourself better and everything functioning, right? Things working correctly after you fix what's causing it, then from there, it's very simple to balance it. It's very simple to maintain it. Even the amount of supplements or things like that it's very easy to do. Okay, so anyway, so let's go back into it. There's no magical diet. The diet is only a foundation, and it's a healthy diet. Now, I will say one thing because I don't want to confuse anybody. There is definitely a special diet needed while you're trying to fix yourself different than the balanced diet. 98% of the things that you see online, including on my website, because I have tons of diets on my website, it's after they're better. So there is 2 different diets. There's that diet to get you better, and then there's a diet to maintain it, right? It's kind of simple. It's kind of like building a house. There's a different strategy to build a house than it is to take care of a house. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about, because I know someone's going to ask, is about exercise. So most type 2 diabetics, if you're in my office and I admit you as a patient, you are not allowed to exercise at all. I know it's contrary to what everybody says who doesn't get really good results. That was a little tag, sorry. So no, exercise as a type 2 diabetic for most type 2 diabetics is not going to actually help. And the reason why is because the engine of your body is broken. So when you exercise, you're actually just driving the motor that's broken into the ground. Now, that doesn't mean for the rest of your life, but as soon as we're able to get the cell open and get the sugar into the cell, then opportunity to exercise is obviously easier, okay? The last thing I want to talk about, actually 2 things. Number 1 is weight. So I know what you've been told, lose the weight and then you won't be a diabetic. Not exactly. The way to think about it is get my body functioning again, and as a side effect, weight goes back down to normal and my blood sugar level improves. if you've been doing it the way that our weight loss industry, the multi-billion-dollar industry that's trying to sell you a supplement or a diet is trying to tell you, is they're having you force your body to lose the weight. But if they're not putting out the fire and they don't go there and put out these fires, the weight just comes right back. Because as soon as you slip off that diet, you didn't fix a darn thing. So that weight just comes right back, and it is infuriating, frustrating, disappointing, deflating, right? Like, oh my gosh. In my office, as patients put out the fires, they are losing weight effortlessly. Like literally, it's just coming off where they're mad at me for needing a new wardrobe. True story, happens all the time. So the point is, you got to go after the fire. Okay. The last thing I want to talk about, and I'm going to start wrapping this up, is genetics. Now, there's a video I put out there. It went viral. It's all about genetics and diabetes. There's no gene for type 2 diabetes. There isn't. We spent billions of dollars doing the research project on everybody's gene and the entire universe or whatever to know all the gene different sequences, and they didn't find the gene for type 2 diabetes. So it's not mom or dad's fault for a type 2 diabetic. Okay, so really, really important. So let me go into a summary of everything, and then I'm going to wrap up. What you've been told is to keep putting band-aids on the problem and to diet and exercise your way to getting yourself well, which obviously hasn't worked and doesn't work. The other way to look at it is that diabetes is a multi-organ issue. It is not just the pancreas. It's not just one organ or gland. It's multi-organ. And if you're able to get these organs functioning correctly and getting the body back to balance, that is how you are able to walk out of the disease, like I see every single day. And that is where the hope is at. It is very individual to you. Why you're a diabetic is individual to you. But if you go there and you work on putting out the fires and addressing that, the body is born to heal. You'll heal. Your body will heal. Okay. So real quick, I want to wrap up everything with a story about a diabetic named Mary. And this is a pretty common story that may be familiar to some of you. So Mary was diagnosed in her late 60s as a type 2 diabetic. She was an avid golfer, went and retired in Florida, golfed all the time, her and her husband, and they would go and golf. And she was diagnosed and she started putting on weight. So she did everything her doctor told her to do. She started trying to lose weight. She started dieting. She started doing all the things that her doctor recommended for her to do. And ran into problems because the medication wasn't working. And instead of just taking one pill, as Mary was getting worse, she took a second pill. Now, her daughter was a nurse, so her daughter was all over her, grandkids all over her, because everybody didn't want to see Mary have a problem with diabetes. So anyway, Mary continues with more medication, and then a couple of years later, more medication. Energy keeps dropping and dropping. Mary is like, oh, I'm getting older, right? That was the way she was thinking. But she knew other people older than her who was more active. The golden years were golden for them, but not for her. She wanted to, instead of playing golf, watching golf on TV. And Mary started getting worse and worse, and eventually Mary got on insulin. And as soon as insulin got on her regimen of drugs, it just kind of went downhill for Mary, right? Mary had a stroke. It wasn't that bad, but, it kind of took the wind out of her. Her family freaked out, obviously. And then she had a heart attack, and then another stroke, heart attack. And every single time, it was like a blow and another blow. And Mary was doing everything she was told to do. She watched her diet. She ate nasty candy that had no sugar in it. She avoided birthday parties. She stayed away from cakes. She did everything as per instructed. And Mary actually got worse. So Mary died at a young age. And it was a travesty of diabetes. And what does this have to do with anything, right? What's this story about Mary? Well, Mary was my grandmother. And my grandmother, I really wanted her to go to my high school graduation. And she didn't make it. She was not able to actually see me graduate. And our healthcare system and diabetes did that to her. And this is why I'm spending time later in the day giving this information to you, because I could not help my grandmother. I likely can help you. Like I've helped thousands of other people. And this is what drives me. Every day I wake up and I'm like, my grandmother would be really proud of me that another person's off medication and they're enjoying their quality with their family. But sitting there and just so you know, like watching my grandmother for 2 years on a couch die is something that I wish I could erase out of my mind and I can't. But it fuels me day in and day out to actually help you and help other type 2 diabetics. And yeah, I have a busy practice, one of the busiest in the country, but I am not as busy as I could be. And I'm only one person, but I love helping people like yourself reverse type 2 diabetes and enjoy that quality of life because maybe you have goals like I do. Maybe you want to see your grandkids, maybe you want the golden years to be golden, maybe you don't want to be in a nursing home. I don't know what your goals are, but I do know that if you follow this approach, I'm telling you, the chances of you getting yourself better and actually pulling yourself out of this hole was much better than what my grandmother had because she has the same plan that you have. Drug, 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 diet, exercise, drug, 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 diet, exercise. It could put her in the grave earlier, but it may not have to do that to you. So let me wrap up. What this is all about, why I do these webinars, is because I absolutely love helping people. It is a passion of mine. Maybe I'm a little neurotic and crazy about it because I do spend a lot of extra time away from certain things to be able to help people, but I just love doing it. And that's why I do these particular webinars. So just before a webinar, I ask my staff, um, is there any opportunity where I can meet with people to see if I can maybe help them? Maybe they could be a good fit for my office. Maybe this approach of fixing the root issues could maybe be a possibility for them. So my staff let me know about a week ago that we had 30 available appointments. These are complimentary appointments to meet with me one-on-one through Zoom, right? So you don't have to drive to my office in the Dunedin, Tampa area to see whether or not I may be able to help you. Maybe there's a path forward. Maybe there's a way that you could actually reverse your diabetes with this approach that I'm talking about that have helped so many other people. So with that being said, I want to kind of give some rules because I know, it's a free appointment. We do not have even close to enough appointments for as many people are there on this webinar. We only have 30 appointments, 30. So with that being said, there's a few cases I do not see, and I just want to kind of make sure that you don't book an appointment because that appointment can go for someone else. Okay, number one, if you are on dialysis, okay, I can't help you because I can't deliver the care you would really need at that stage. Okay, so if you're on dialysis, I don't see those cases. All right, unfortunately, they're too far gone. The next case I don't see is I don't see vegetarians. If you're a vegetarian and you're dead set on it and it's a religious or some sort of philosophical belief, vegetarians do not do well on reversing diabetes. Okay, now that doesn't mean you have to eat beef and everything else, but you have to eat some sort of an animal product because that's the diet foundation is going to be based around chicken, fish, lamb, turkey, beef, pork, whatever. Okay, so that's number two. Number three, you have to live in Florida. Okay, so I know there are probably some people in all different states, Wyoming, Utah, California. I know there's a lot of data I have out there. Thank you, Lilia, I appreciate it. But anyway, but you have to be in Florida. Okay, so if you're in Florida, I could see your case. And then the other thing is I don't take pre-diabetics. And the reason for that is I just don't have room in my office to do that. I really don't. So you have to be diagnosed as a diabetic on medication or supposed to be taking medication. And the most important thing is motivation. Okay. That is probably the number one criteria on whether or not a case does really well or doesn't in my office. And that is really, really important. Your health has to be your number one priority. The biggest challenge I've seen over the years is moms. Because my wife she's a typical mom. She's last on the plate. I'm first, the kids, the dog, the house, and then her. Doesn't work like that to reverse diabetes. Mom has to be number one. Has to be number one. So anyway, those are the criteria. The way it goes is if you would like a complimentary appointment, it's about a half hour long. My staff will send you some paperwork to fill out. You do it in the comfort of your own home. It's very simple. You do it online. And then I will meet with you, and I'm going to give you 100% of my attention to look at your case. I want to know your history. I want to have a better background understanding of what's going on. And maybe there is a path potentially that I may be able to help you. And I'll let you know. And then essentially for the next step would be to get labs done to figure out where the fires are and then what to do about them. Okay, so anyway, if you're interested in a complimentary appointment, what you're going to do at this point is you're going to raise your hand, okay, and it's for only the first 30 people. Okay, so that is a complimentary appointment. It's done through Zoom. They'll send you everything you need to get on Zoom. Obviously, be in a quiet place. Don't drive while we're talking. Obviously, I don't want you to get into an accident. But they'll set everything up for you. Okay. So anyway, if you would like an appointment, please raise your hand. All right, and then my staff will help you, book your appointment. All right. So with that being said, I have a whole series of questions. If you came in a little bit later and you would like any questions or something you would like me to go over, there's that little question and answer section. If you want to put your question in there, I'll be definitely able to answer that. Okay, good. Let me jump in here. I have a bunch already. So the first question is, oh, this is a great question. So it's how long does it take to start seeing results? Betty asked this question. So Betty, honestly, I don't like answering that question because everybody's different, right? Now, yes, I know you may have seen or maybe not, but there are testimonials out there of people being off their insulin in the first week of my office. That has happened, quite a bit of times throughout the years, but that's not everybody. There's some people that take it longer. Everybody's different. But the point is that the first thing I look at whenever I look at a case, if I feel like I can help them, is let's stop it getting worse, right? So that's the number one thing. And then the second step would be to turn that cruise ship around and head to the right direction. So anyway, so that's really how I do that, right? So anyway, everybody's different. I don't like that question because I don't want you to compare yourself to somebody else. You may be faster, you may be slower. The key point is the strategy. Either you're spending your time guessing what to eat and finding a Band-Aid, right? A natural Band-Aid or a drug Band-Aid, or you're putting out the fire. If you put your attention on putting out the fire, obviously, that's where you get really good results. Okay, good. Great question, Betty. Thank you. The next question is about insurance. Great. So on this appointment, it's a complimentary appointment. I'm not billing your insurance. I'm looking at your case. It is my community service I do for people to actually look at your case complimentary. With that being said, you'll put your insurance information in, and we just have to see if your insurance wants to help you reverse diabetes. They'll treat diabetes. They'll give you all the drugs in the world. It's crazy. I'm going to say this in a disingenuous way, but it's not meant to be. They'll pay for an amputation before they'll pay for you to get better. And I think that's backwards. Anyway, so, and that's sensitive to me because I've seen too many amputees that I'd rather have not seen. So anyway, yeah, you'll send us your information. Most of my patients are on fixed incomes, retired, obviously. So we find a way to make it affordable. So even if your insurance doesn't want to help out, we have a lot of different options for very, very low payments and things like that if we do work with you and take your case up. So good. The next question is from Daryl. Yeah, so the appointment is virtual. I have a telehealth office in Florida. When I was in New Jersey, which I do not miss, by the way, I would have a brick and mortar. I'd have to shovel the parking lot of snow that people are doing in New Jersey, right now, which I'm not having to do. So anyway, no, it's a virtual appointment. You could be anywhere in Florida, Jacksonville, Miami, Orlando. We have patients everywhere. I've learned a lot about Florida because there's all these towns in Florida that are really amazing that I was like, where is that located? It's pretty cool. So anyway, yeah, it's a virtual appointment. You'll have something sent to you. Give my staff a little bit of time as they register everybody. And then you'll just click on it. They'll help you with it. I even put a video together on how to get your phone working. It's really not hard. So we'll help you with that. All right. Good. Okay, what's the next question here? I just answered that one. How long have I been doing this? Over 20 years. Okay, that was a question from Daryl. Okay, good. All right, Pam just said she likes my pink shirts. Thank you, Pam. I was going to do a challenge. I think some of you may belong to the Facebook group where, it's like literally, we've had to shut the door on that Facebook group so many times just because our admins can't handle it. We're at like 2,000 members. It's not even a year old, actually. And it's unbelievable how much that's grown. So I was going to put a challenge. I'll kind of share it with everybody. I was going to put a challenge that if we can get enough people to like it, I'll change my pink shirt for the whole entire month of February. we'll see how it goes. But no, usually it's like a dress code thing. So it's a dress code thing. So I usually, when I do webinars, things like that, I usually wear pink. When I do this big conference in a few months, I'll probably wear white. I usually do white on white. When I'm on TV or a podcast, I was on one of the largest podcasts in the country a couple months ago. I did blue on blue, so yeah, it's just my dress code. I do own other shirts. So anyway, yeah, pink on pink. All right, good. The next question is, oh, Janice says she follows me. Thanks, Janice. I'm glad you do. I put a lot of content. I have a whole thing coming out for those of you that follow me. We have a lot of followers. I know that have like over 2 million views on YouTube. So we have a lot more content coming out. So it's really good. All right. The next question is, Junior asked a question: what is the underlying cause of diabetes? Is it related to thyroid? So Junior, it looks like you asked that question before I got into that. So if you want to re-ask that question, maybe you missed it when I went in it. Definitely a good idea. Joe asked, will I be sending out a recording? There'll probably be a replay. It may not be this webinar. I've done this particular type of webinar thousands of times, literally. So yeah, it's probably something similar. You know, maybe my jokes are a little different, or this patient successes are a little different. So, but something similar to that. Good. So if you have any questions, you're going to put that in that Q&A section. So Judy asked, can you reverse type 2 diabetes if you're on an insulin pump? So I don't know about you particularly, Judy. I never met you. However, has it happened before? Yeah, it has. And oh my God, when that happens, it's unbelievable. I just had one recently, as a matter of fact, a patient by the name of Edgar. Yeah, and it was quick too. It was like 4 or 5 months. Yeah, it was really, oh my God, it's unbelievable. I don't know where I'm not to sound don't take this the wrong way. He wrote a success. I just don't know where it is. I have so many successes out there. I don't know where it is, but really, yeah, I see that all the time. It's not a popular thing nowadays. A pump, they've kind of gotten away from that. I'm not sure why. Maybe insurance. I'm not sure, but yeah, I used to see that more when I was in New Jersey, but I don't see that as much. Maybe it's a Florida thing. I really don't know. So Verid, I think that's how I say your name. It is. Yeah, is it reversible? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, it's reversible. Just so you know, if you guys do your research, you'll see that even in PubMed and the medical journals, they talk about it being reversed like back in the 80s. This is not like, I know it's maybe new to you, and so forth. So Charles asked, will the insurance cover the lab test? I got to see what lab test, but typically they'll cover just the basic panel. The other tests, they usually don't cover. So sometimes we offer discounts. It's not really expensive though. I mean, it could be, but we don't make it that way. Is it possible to designate me? Oh, so my name is Spages. It's S in front of Pages, but it's okay. It's a typo. But so yes, I can't be your primary physician. That's not my wheelhouse. I do functional medicine, reversing diabetes. So no, you want your primary doctor. You do not want me to be checking your throat for, strep. That's not my it's not my wheelhouse. All right, cool. All right, I think I answered that one. Jim asks, so Jim, yes. So when you're back to the analogy, to make it real simple, when we look at these organs, the way I know what to look for is two things. Number one, it's the right labs, but it's also interpreting the labs the correct way, plus also knowing what labs go in sequence. I know that I made that sound really complicated. All right, let me watch how I say this because, yeah, let me watch how I say this. You can do labs two different ways. You can literally run labs, see something high or low, and then give it a drug. That's not what I'll ever do. Or you can look and say, okay, I see this lab here. This lab's almost off lines. This one is almost off lines. And then this one down here is off. Oh, so this person is kind of going like this with their liver, or this person right here is going with inflammation. That's how I look at labs. So, and I have doctors and nurses who are patients of mine. Like, they come in my office. I'm taking care of them to reverse their diabetes. They're educated. They're smart. They're really educated people. They just don't know. They weren't trained on how to look at the patterns and reverse their diabetes. That's obviously why they come to my office. But you have to know, yeah, the labs are going to tell you it, but it's how you interpret the labs also really important. I hire and train people all the time in my office. And Yes, and I have to teach them from the ground up. They're like, "Oh, I learned something different." I'm like, "Let me show you a different way of looking at it." So, all right. So Chanel asked, apple cider vinegar. Yeah, apple cider vinegar is never going to reverse diabetes. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's never going to address the root issues. Keitha, I think I said your name right. We're located in a town called Dunedin. It's like outside of Clearwater. And but I don't see patients like one-on-one. Like I do everything through telehealth. Sandra asked, your numbers are high in the morning. Yeah, that is high, right? Remember we talked about it. That blood sugar level should be between 85 and 99. So if you're at 160, that's dangerous. It's like going into a shower at 160, right? That's really high. So how do you fix it? So for you, Sandra, the strategy is what's important. So once again, find it. So you got to find out what's causing that blood sugar level to go up outside of diet, right? Because we know diet isn't the only thing. So you got to find out what's causing that and then fix it. And like I said, in my office, we do this naturally through what is called protocol. So sometimes you may see a patient's like, oh, I'm only on protocol number 2 and my blood sugar levels are doing great. That's what that means. It's like a specialized plan for them that we're working on something, right? So that's how patients do that in my office. Doug asks, so if the 4 organs can be cause of diabetes, what tests should be done for each organ to rule them out as a cause? Doug, if I work with you, I'll just send you for the labs. I can't sit here for 20 minutes and tell you every single lab to run. But it's also, like I said, how you interpret it, how you read it, and then what do you do about it. So there's a couple pieces there. Yeah, like if you're a doctor, I can give your doctor all the labs, but if they just prescribe medications or burn or drug out whatever problem there is, you're still sick. It's the philosophy, right? It's the way of treating things. All right. Vered asks, what if I don't take medications for about 5 years and now I'm getting worse? So, Vered, I don't treat diabetes. I've never treated diabetes. Diabetes is a symptom. So, you would obviously have to be under your medical care to make sure that you're not going to have a major complication and be negligent on your health. And if I decide to work with you, then obviously we'll work on the fire. So the best combo is where you are helping yourself stay alive with the right medications based on your doctor's recommendation or your nurse's recommendation, and then also fixing it, right? So you got to do both. You can't do like one or the other. I know some people are into like health, natural things. I want to do natural, cinnamon, alpha lipoic acid, bitter melon, berberine, right? That's just a band-aid. That's a band-aid. That's not fixing the root of it. Okay, so really important. Okay, good, Charles. I answered your questions. Rosanna answered that one. Okay, good. Okay, good. So you're just going to put your insurance information in there. We have a few questions there. What recommendations would I give a pre-diabetic? Oh, that's a great question, Sandra. I would have you just go to my website. I have a lot of resources on there. I have courses. Some of them are cheap. I mean, they're good. They're like $10. They're great. They're great courses. It's not going to fix all the organs, but it'll give you some good understandings of things. A couple little hacks, things that you may not be familiar with. And then I have a lot of articles and free information on my website. There's tons of information. I have a lot more coming out. So I would spend time there. There are some supplements on my website as well. Some people take those. As a pre-diabetic, those would probably help a little bit. If you're a diabetic, full blown on medication, those supplements on my website is not the right protocol. So just want to make sure that you are fully aware of that. All right. Yeah, Marilyn, you want to be able to do this on your own of reversing your diabetes. I wish it was like a reversing diabetes in a box. It is much more complicated than that. So yeah, you would have to be a resident of Florida. So John, how to know if you're one of the 30 people selected? It's a first come first serve basis. So if you want an appointment, raise your hand, and then my team will like message you in the chat. So please look at that chat, because if they don't see that you're in the chat and communicating back, they will give up your appointment to someone else, and that's just because we just have a limited spots there. All right. So Rick, how can you get your current doctor? So I don't know if you're asking because you're not a resident of Florida. So you want to have, how do I explain this? So you want to go to somebody who has had experience like I do on reversing diabetes. So if you live in a different state, like you probably just want someone who, like I practice something called functional medicine, which is where we get the body functioning. We're not just treating things, we get down to the root cause, right? What's really causing it. You want to find someone who's doing that, and so forth. But if your doctor is not trained on doing that, uh, then he's not going to not only not know the right test, but he wouldn't know what to do when he gets the test because he's trained on treating the smoke, not the fire. So you like my office, we just focus on fires all day. That's all we're doing. We're putting out people's fires, right? Calls the fire department. But like we're trained differently. So that's how you have to think of it. All right. Okay, good. Vernie, I see that you gave the phone number for an appointment. Just raise your hand and just look in the chat to see if there's any appointments. George, once again, you'll put your insurance information in there. Okay, good. Answer that one. I would like to make an appointment. Good. Just raise your hand, Linda. All right, good. Do I accept snowbirds? You just have to be a Florida resident. Good. Let's see. Well, great. I would love for you to help spread this information. Tell the world. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Well, there's a lot of resources on my website. George, I think I answered that one. Okay, good. GLP receptor is not really important in the grand scheme of reversing diabetes. Okay, good. Zoom user, yep. Oh, good. So, William, what's going to happen is once my staff finds a time for you in the appointment, just so you know, they're probably booking up a few weeks from now. So if you get an appointment even in 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now, do not miss that appointment because my staff does not reschedule these appointments. Please be on that appointment. But anyway, you're going to get a link to Healthy, and it's online and it's so easy. It's literally brainless. You just click boxes, it autofills. It's really easy to do. So you'll get that paperwork through email. Okay, so be on the lookout for that. You'll probably get it in probably about 30 minutes from now. Okay, so just be on the lookout for it and you can just fill it out. What's real important is that if your appointment is scheduled tomorrow or even the day after, please have your paperwork done. When I wake up in the morning, I spend time with my kids, my wife, everybody's about to run out of the house. And then what I do is I run to my office and I go and I start printing everyone's paperwork and I start studying it. So I'm going to be studying your paperwork. So please have it done. I don't want to get to the appointment and I don't really know what to ask you and how to help you. So really, really, really important. Okay, good. Natasha, let's see here. My middle daughter is Natalie, so very similar. All right, so I will be going to. Yeah, so once again, Natasha, I already addressed this. It's not about the labs, it's about the approach. So you want to go to a doctor who knows what labs to run to reverse the diabetes and also the protocols and proven track record to fix it. Watch out. There's a lot of people out there that try to sell you this idea of these crazy radical diets, and it's really bad. Even like keto, I'm not a fan of keto. You guys may have seen the video with me and Dr. Berg. He's like the keto guru. Awesome. He's a friend of mine. But keto for reversing diabetes long term, I've never seen it. So, yeah, Robert asked, does hormone therapy help with diabetes? What kind of hormone therapy are you referring to? Because hormones do play a role into type 2 diabetes. I was mentioning this earlier. There's a lot of females that wind up getting like gestational diabetes with children. And then at some point that metabolism continues to break and then they become a full-blown diabetic. So yes, hormones do play a role. I don't know specifically what you were talking about, but yes, they could. But if you want to re-ask that question, I could speak to it more if that's important to you. I could definitely talk about that. But yes, hormones definitely play a role. Yeah, George, that number is ridiculous, buddy. You got to make sure you're taking the right steps. All right, let me see here, Deborah. Yeah, Deborah, I have other webinars. Yeah, I know. It's horrible. I agree with you, Deborah. It's like they just keep on throwing medication at the problem. Band-aid after band-aid, right? I mean, you're asking about other conditions that you have. Have I seen people with other conditions reverse their diabetes and see these things improve? Yeah, of course. Yeah, I see it all the time. The body's born to heal. It's just that you got to get rid of all the things stopping you from healing, right? Like if it's trying to go somewhere, you got to get rid of all the barriers, right? So, So good. You have Hashimoto's. I have Hashimoto's too, Tracy. I'm very familiar with that condition. Yep, I see these cases, Tracy, all the time, and they do really well in my office. I don't know about your case specifically, so if we have a chance to meet, I'll look at your case. Yeah, I'm very familiar with autoimmune, unfortunately, and also thyroid, obviously. So Vert asked about the 14-day sensors. I think you're asking about a CGM. I think that's what you're asking. So I don't love CGMs, but I do love CGMs. That's contradictory. So, okay, so let's talk about CGMs. I just put out a whole video about this. So I think CGMs are good if you want to see what food you react to. However, if you do have a CGM, and let me just explain what this is, guys. So for those of you unfamiliar, there's these new apparatuses. They've been around for about 10 years or so, and you put them on your arm and they attach to your phone, and then you can put your phone next to your arm and it can tell you what your blood sugar is. They're definitely convenient. They're not cheap. They're about $200 or more. And what they do is they kind of just keep telling you what your blood sugar is throughout the day. The problem with it is it's not the most accurate. Usually sometimes off 20 or 30 points. So if you're using it for a baseline, I don't like it. I'd rather have a glucometer where you're using your finger. But if you're looking at it for like seeing what your body may react to, that's fine. But realize, like in my office, in the beginning, like your body is so out of balance that you react to everything. Rice, pasta, breads, because like your body can't handle it. It's too weak. And what I see in my office is as someone is working, getting themselves better and better and better and better, yeah, they can have rice and their blood sugar doesn't go up 20 points, or they have pasta and their blood sugar level doesn't go up 50 points. I'm not saying you eat it every day, but I'm saying like you just have to get your body strong enough to be able to do that. So if you have a CGM, you could put yourself into complete avoidance. So now, like, you eat pretzels and your blood sugar level goes up. You eat a carrot, your blood sugar level goes up. So now you're just confining yourself to these foods and you wind up eating nothing but like a piece of paper and a paper clip, right? And I don't like that, because as the body gets stronger, you should be able to eat more food. The problem is with our diabetic community and the education that's out there is they never work on getting you stronger. They never work on getting the air back in the tires and putting out the fire. So it's just keep on being avoidance, avoidance, avoidance. Don't eat this, don't eat this, don't eat this, don't eat this. And it's like, who the hell can live like that? Like the golden years are supposed to be golden. Like they're not supposed to be like where you can't eat anything, right? So anyway, I'm not saying not eat healthy. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm saying you got to get the body stronger and healthier, and then you can eat more. Okay, that's the takeaway. Please, yeah, don't go and tell everybody Dr. Spages was on the webinar. He said I can eat whatever I want. No, no, cross that out. Okay. So does Ozempic make you throw up? Yes, Ozempic gives really bad side effects. So you could just Google what that is. My website is www, so the three W's, .drj, J for my first name, Jonathan, and then Spages, S in front of pages. So DRJSPAGES at .com. I'm sorry, .com. Yep. And I'll do this because some of you are going to ask, what's the phone number? Our phone number is 727 216-9634. 727-216-9634. I know sometimes people have a hard time on Zoom. And also, honestly, like and I've done a lot of webinars, like once you start getting over 30 people on Zoom, it starts getting a little glitchy. And we are well over 30. So okay, good. So Bruce Skeptical. I like that. Bruce, that's my middle name. Most people don't know what the B stands for. That's my dad's name. But anyway, yeah, you're going to raise your hand. And if there's any appointments available, they will reach out to you. All right. Donna asked. Yeah, so Donna, it's a process to becoming a patient. It's not like a typical office where you just walk in and like, it's not like that. So the things I look for to becoming a patient is really two things. Number one is, are you like, can I help you? Like, can I look at your case and figure out where the fires are? Have it been successful with other cases like yours? So if I look at anyone's case and if I don't truly think I can help somebody, I'm not taking their case, right? I'm not going to go there and string them along. And I want to see they do really well. So that's number one. The second thing is you have to be a good fit for my practice. Patients in my office, their health is their number one priority. They know they need to make changes. They rather do it now when they have their quality of life and independence than when they don't. So the philosophy I use is I will give you the ladder to get yourself out of the hole. I'm not climbing the ladder. That is your job. And I think that's important because you got to put some skin in the game. So yeah, you have to have your health as a top priority, right? Is it impossible? No. I have truck drivers who have, I don't know how, I've never had a truck driver fail, but truck drivers throughout the years, if they can do it, anybody can do it because they have the worst chances of having a good diet or anything else. So anyway, so that is how I'll make a decision. Number one is, can I help you? And number two is, are you going to do the work, right? The other thing too is, you need to make sure you have some support around you. If you're widowed or if you live with somebody or something, it's always good that they are supportive. You don't want to be married or living with somebody that, you're trying to get better and they keep coming home with like vodka and donuts every day. It's you're setting yourself into a bad environment. It's like if you have a gambling problem, like don't move to Atlantic City, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you want to make sure you're setting yourself up for success. But most significant others, they are so supportive, right? Husbands, wives, they're really supportive. They know, like, if you get worse, it could be a problem for them also, right? Like, it's really diabetes does that sort of thing. Okay, good. So Lee, I don't know if you could be a patient in my office. We have to obviously meet to see if I can help you. All right. Deborah, what I'll do is let me just type it to everybody. I'll give everybody my website because I know some of you are having a hard time with this. All right, good. That's the website. Yeah, there's a lot of information on there. All right, good. So your A1C is 7. Can you help me? Rose, I mean, throughout the years, I've seen some pretty bad A1Cs that have done really well. We just had a 15 go to a 7 in like 3 months, and they're off of insulin. We had another person, like I think it was, what's today? Today's Tuesday, Monday. Something also like just they're down like 5 points. 5 points and their doctor screwed up their medication. They would have probably been down more. Unbelievable. Liver, kidneys started coming back. Like it was unbelievable. It was like I was so proud of her. I was like, she was like practically crying how happy she was that first time like ever her labs all looked better. Her cholesterol levels better, triglyceride levels, thyroid numbers, A1C. She's like, this is unfreaking believable. And I was like, yeah. I was like, body heals. You just gotta get it to heal, right? So anyway, Ruby asked, do you give supplements to heal or do you have a formula to address? So I don't have like a formula. I don't like I know obviously there's over, I think it's like 50,000 different supplements on the market. In functional medicine, there is many different companies that I've been working with for over 20 years. And I just know, okay, this company has this product for this issue and blah, blah, blah. And I just know how to put it together and get really good results. So it's kind of a talent. Yes, Judy, of course I retest labs. Of course. I want to see proof in the pudding. I want to see that people are really getting better, not just saying they're getting better. Deborah asks, you're in Jacksonville. Are there any other doctors? I don't know anybody in Jacksonville that reverses diabetes. All right, Linda, great. You just want to raise your hand, Linda, to see if there's any appointments available. So Vered, I think that's how you say your name. You're going to raise your hand, and then if there's any appointments available, if you're not getting any messages in the chat, give it a few minutes because my staff they're working overtime. Laya, I don't know if the 30 spots, and honestly, I would have no clue if that's true. If the 30 spots are taken, I really don't know. Yeah, I've learned a long time ago that when I touch the appointment book, I get yelled at, so I don't. It's like, no, they're going on vacation. This person, that's like, my staff knows everybody's life, who's getting graduated, who's retiring next week, who's like, they just know. I'm like, all right, and you guys control the schedule. I'll just show up and help people. That's what I like to do. All right, so Deborah, you raised your hand and you think you goofed, accidentally hit it twice. Thus, it may not have showed and it lowered. Okay, good. So if I think you could see if your hand's raised or not, right? Let me see if I could see. Let me see, Deborah, if I can help you here. Deborah, I don't see your hand raised if you're still on. I do not see your hand raised. I could be wrong though. Give me a second. Let me see. I don't see it, Danielle. So, I mean, yeah, Deborah, I'm sorry. I see Danielle. Yeah, try to raise your hand again. Yeah, my staff, they'll look for you. Desiree, I am really, really, really sorry to hear that. Yeah, I'm really sorry about your mom. It just is still, it really bothers me that we're no further along in our mainstream medicine. Obviously, my office is different, but like we're no further along with diabetes. The drug names have changed, but the approach is still exactly the same. And I just, yeah, I just, it's so unfortunate your mom had to pass at a young age. Robert asked about bioidenticals. No, doesn't help with diabetes, reversing it. Yes, A1C being over, so let's go back to this. So someone asked about if an A1C is over 12, if that's dangerous. It's extremely dangerous. And you should be able to see your doctor ASAP and making sure you're taking the right medication. So you should be at 5.7. At 5.8, something isn't good. At 5.9, it's getting worse. 6, 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, 6, like it's really high. So yeah, you can't be at a 12. That's dangerous. So you definitely want to go and address that with your doctor. All right, good. William, yeah, great. Raise your hand. Absolutely. Good. And then Lee, I'll put down the phone number as well. Some people are like, I'm going to call the office instead of trying to go in the chat. I'll get an appointment. It may not happen, but I like the idea, Lee. Listen, I'm from New Jersey. Sometimes you got to try to maneuver around, how to get through traffic, right? So, anyway, I was just in Orlando this past weekend. My son had the opportunity to play where the Orlando Magic play. He played so good too. I was so proud of him. But we were there like really early, like 11 in the afternoon or in the morning rather, and he was playing and we watched the game. But I'll tell you, like every time I go to Orlando, and some of you live in Orlando, like why can't they just add another lane on 4? Like what is going on? I listen, if I were retired from reversing diabetes, I am figuring a way to get onto the Department of Transportation in that area to figure out why they just can't put a 4th lane. It's always traffic. I can't get it. So they have enough room. I don't, anyway. So totally off the subject. Let me give everybody the phone number. 727-216-9634. Did I put that in right? Yeah, there we go. All right, good. If you guys have any questions, you can put them in the Q&A section. There's a little section here that says Q&A or question and answer section. So you'll be able to put that in there. All right, good. My message is now saying to lower hand. I don't know where it says that. I don't know what that means. Oh, okay. So I think if I mess up your name, I really apologize. Keitha, I think that's how I say your name. So yeah, you could call, but it's once again, we only have 30 available appointments. The thing they usually do, my staff, is that there's kind of like a waiting list, but those appointments aren't complimentary. We can only give out so many complimentary appointments. So you would have to pay for that appointment. It's a reduced rate, it's like $99, but that's usually what would happen. So anyway, Maryland, I don't know about Michigan. There's no one that's off the top of my head that I could think of. So yeah, I don't know of anybody who does the sort of work I do. But that's great. Let me ask, there's some more questions here that just came in from a different way. So, okay. Let me, Jeremy asked, what about the actual treatments? I kind of mentioned this earlier. It's a little hard to kind of understand conceptually what it is. So I'll make it as easy as I can so you can kind of understand how my office works different. So the first thing I have to find out is where these fires are, right? Running a lot of labs. That's number one. Number two is which fire is the most important to get the best result, right? Because if there's all these fires, we don't want to run, like the way to fail is by trying to handle everything all at once. So if I see that patient is motivated and they have support and I know I can help them, Then we start going after the fires. The way that works is everyone in my office is actually trained over their care on how to get themselves well, because I do not want someone in my office for the rest of their life. I want them to get better, enjoy their retirement, enjoy their quality of life. I don't want to just keep stringing you along for 500 years trying to reverse diabetes. Excuse me. Doesn't work. So anyway, so every patient's trained in my office. Really, really important. These are things that you wouldn't see on my website. These are private for patients only. Really, really good. We obviously have lab testing, and then we start working on each of the layers of the onion. Okay, so each layer would be a diet strategy, obviously, that we teach you and show you how to do, usually not hard. And then also supplements that is going to work on that particular area. And also supporting things that may need to be supported. Once that layer is done, then on to the next layer. Same idea. Diet strategy, right? And usually the diet opens up as time goes on, and then also, different protocols to put out that next fire, and so on and so on and so on. And then essentially, as you keep putting out the fires, you're getting better and better and better. Things are improving, and then you need less of everything. Your doctor would let you know if you need less medications, or my staff can help you with that. There's ways that you would understand how to do that, right? So that's one option. The other option is also the supplements. So the supplements, you'll need less of it, obviously, as you get yourself better. So there's some basic supplements that every diabetic needs, a good omega product, a vitamin D, that sort of thing, but that's not going to reverse diabetes. These are just good wellness things, right? So that's what it looks like. We do quality control. So every single day in my office, we know where your blood sugar level is. We know what you're doing. We are holding you accountable. So that's really important. And then the support in my office is outstanding. And I'm saying that from what patients tell us. Like, my staff is very responsive. They answer calls on the weekends. They're always checking if you have a question, even off regular hours. It is unbelievable. It's like actually really caring about making sure you do well. And then also importantly, getting labs, making sure that you're actually moving in the right direction. Some things that you'll find when the body starts healing, some are a little stubborn because they've been bad for a while, and other things are really easy and they just heal really fast. So that's what care looks like, and the goal is to get things back to balance so you can live a quality of life and enjoy yourself, right? Have better energy, lose weight, all that, all the good stuff, right? So anyway, so good. Wallace, can you visit my office? No, I do telehealth only, like I mentioned earlier. So, so I just see people just like this. So it's just through the computer. All right, good. Next question. All right, Greg said he is a skeptic. I'm going to paraphrase Greg. Prove it works. I love that question. So I'm gonna kind of put this back on you, Greg. I think you should prove to me what you're doing is working, right? The reason why you're on this webinar is because the things you have tried and the things that you were told to do didn't actually help and fix anything. That's why you're essentially coming to a webinar. And I think that's a great question. So, I mean, you could just research, you can see all the reviews and all testimonials, but just think logically about the approach. I think if you could think about the approach is going to be better. Treating symptoms with either supplements or medication, or going after the root fire, that's got to make sense to you. If it doesn't, then obviously you just keep on treating the symptoms, right? Like, you have to understand there's a root and it's something's causing the blood sugar problems. The other thing is, the provider you're going to, just look at their track record. I mean, if they have thousands of people that are off their medications in their office and they're helping people naturally, and they have testimonials of people that have really just changed their whole life, then you listen to what they tell you and they can help you do that. If they're going and every time you walk in, they're trying to find another drug that your insurance covers, it may not align to what your goals are long-term for your health. So it's a common sense sort of thing. So, in my office, patients do really well. We have a high success rate. And yeah, it's just common sense, right? You're either spraying the garbage or you're taking the garbage out. So it's really a philosophy. So anyway, yeah. So I hope that answered that question. Good. I answered this earlier. Someone's asking about my next book. I don't know what I have 2 books. Actually, I won't get into that. But yeah, I have 2 more books coming out. So I'm not sure when I'm releasing them. So I will let you know. They're like, one is like 98% done. The other one, uh, uh, eh, eh. So if you've never written a book before, you'll get it. You know what my reaction is. Ugh, it's like sometimes those little screws that are out, and you're just, how do you get these? Like, how do you make it flow really good? And how do you go and give all of this information that you guys have experienced tonight on this webinar in a book where it makes it easy? So, and also you don't want 800 pages of a book, right? So I like my books to be around 100, my like book. So like 180 pages, 150 pages. That's like very digestible. Like you could even easily do that. My other books that are on my website, like my ebooks, things, they're short. They're 30, 40 pages, whatever. Good. All right, next question is, we went over that. Yeah, it's a virtual appointment. Oh, this is a great question. So how does it work if you're already seeing another doctor? It's totally fine. They're going to work on treating the diabetes and the, whatever, symptoms you have. So patients in my office, they're doing that while they're working on getting themselves better, putting out the fires, fixing things, and so forth. So yeah, everybody's just got to work together. It's not, what you're trying to do, if you're in my office versus what they're doing. It's just everybody has to be, working together. That's really the way it should go. Okay, good. The next question I have, some of the causes. We went over this. So we talked about the four tires. You have your liver, your thyroid, your adrenal glands, your pancreas, infections, hormones, dysbiosis, feed-forward bidirectional vicious cycles, hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, circadian rhythms. You have cortisol issues, feed-forward bidirectional visual cycles. I don't know if I mentioned that yet. Autoimmune conditions. I don't want to get too technical. The point is, there's a lot of reasons why blood sugar level goes up. It's not just diet, right? And that was what I was trying to emphasize. And I think it's also, if you think about it, right, they're giving you a simple solution to a complex problem, right? They're just telling you to eat more celery and drink more water and walk around the block. And that's a simple solution to a much more complex thing, right? So that's, I think, misleading. Like, I think it's really, really important to understand that there's other things out there. Okay. Good. All right, excellent. The next question is, I kind of answered this earlier, is why doesn't my doctor know about this approach and give this to me? It's just a training. I don't know why they don't know how to do functional medicine. Like I said, I was literally like one of the first doctors in New Jersey to do it. And in New Jersey, boy, they just throw tomatoes at you. It's like you're doing something that's not mainstream. It's like, oh my gosh, now I've been doing it for 20 years. And it's like, oh, this makes more sense now. But when I first started, boy, I was I would have like the worst thing. You can't reverse diabetes. There's like that thing. You guys ever listen to the philosopher Emerson? I'm gonna screw it all up, but if you Google it, you'll find it out there. And he talks about, like, whenever a new truth comes about, the first thing is that you're attacked for it, right? Like they attack you, and then the second thing they do is like they kind of make it okay. And then the third thing, they understand it and they say it's okay. And then the last step of this awareness is that they totally believe it, and you're 100% right. And it was almost their idea. It's kind of like this level. I'm kind of paraphrasing here, and that's been kind of this 20-year journey I've been on. When I first did it, it was like literally I was like the Antichrist. There's no way. I'm a crazy person. Blah blah blah. And now, like after thousands of people, it's like, oh, this makes sense. There's got to be a cause. It's like, so anyway, yeah. So anyway, your doctor could certainly learn. But they would have to change their entire practice. The way their practice is, I mean, they're not going to go there and look at your blood sugar level every day. They're not going to be teaching you for hours how to do diet. They're not going to go there and start putting supplement protocols together, and so forth, right? So it's just a different style of practice. It's like we're going after the roots, they're going after symptoms. We spend 20, 30 an hour with patients. They got 5 minutes with you. What drug? Fill it up, have a nice day, and best of luck to you, right? So it's just a different style of practice. And I just, yeah, and it's just different. So great. All right, what's the next question we have here? So, this is a good question. So I don't know how to say your name, so I'm going to skip your name. So it says, I'm taking nutritional supplements already. Do you, do I have to stop it if you become a patient in my office? So the answer is 99.9% of the time, yes. And the reason for that is a lot of things that are sold on the on Amazon or at CVS or Costco or whatever, they're really low quality, and they're not really designed to change labs and to change how the body functions. So we usually like to have patients, like, supplement wise, not do anything but what we recommend. This way, I know when labs come back, or my team knows when labs come back, how we got to where we got to, right? So once in a while, I will find a product that someone's taking that once the person gets themselves well, they may be able to continue that, but that product will never get them back to balance. It takes quite a bit of water to put out the fire. It's not just one supplement. I know you guys have seen this on Facebook probably. It's like, this magical supplement in 24 hours will reverse your diabetes and make you look like, Jane Fonda again. It's like there's no such thing. It's clickbait. It's a probably a scam more than anything. So it's not that easy. I wish it was. If it was, I would just be like, all right, listen, everybody, 29.99, grab my supplement, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's not that easy. So anyway, so yeah. So good. What else we got here? So good. What tests do I do that other doctors don't do? So a lot. So when we look at the standard of care testing, which is what you would do if you have Medicare or secondary, is they run basic tests. It's about 2 pages long, give or take, if you're lucky. They run what's called a CBC, which is a complete blood count. They run usually like a metabolic panel, right, which is glucose, things like that. They'll run maybe a vitamin D. They'll run maybe 3 thyroid hormones if you're lucky. They'll run your cholesterol, which is called a lipid panel, and then they'll run an A1C, right? That's the standard of care. They may throw in a lab here or there, like iron or something like that. So the problem with that testing is it's nowhere near thorough enough to figure out why your numbers are up. So in my office, if we just look at what I just mentioned, for blood, I'll run about 33 to 35 more tests. And those tests are more geared to figuring out, well, how's your thyroid really functioning? So instead of just looking at 3 tests, we're going to look at 11. We're checking for autoimmune conditions because autoimmune could be driving it. We look for, inflammatory markers. That's the craziest thing too. So diabetes is an inflammatory disease. The body's on fire, right? And they don't run any inflammatory tests on that panel. Like, you would figure if it's an inflammatory disease, you would want to know what's on fire and how bad it is. But unfortunately, they don't actually do that. Don't ask. So anyway, so good. So that's another factor, right? So you want to make sure that you're looking at inflammatory markers, liver function, and then knowing what patterns to look at. That's really, really important. So that's blood. Obviously, you want to look at urinalysis because that's going to be like a very thorough urinalysis to make sure your kidneys are functioning. You're not spilling ketones. You're not spilling glucose because that's really bad. So anyway, that's really, really important. And by the way, there's some of the newer drugs that are out there. I'm not going to mention them just the point of not mentioning them, but there are newer drugs out there that are actually getting your blood sugar level down, but they're beating up your kidneys to do so. If you take medications, read the side effects. And you don't want to be on dialysis. That is like the worst thing to be ever as a diabetic. And I see more and more diabetics as I've been in practice with some of these newer medications headed that way. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And your quality of life on dialysis it's devastating, right? So anyway, so that sort of thing. And then sometimes for evaluation purposes, I'll also send someone out for saliva testing. So saliva testing is really important. It looks at circadian rhythms. It looks at something called the HPA axis, which is really important. It looks at rhythms, brain rhythms, hormone rhythms. It looks at stress hormones. It looks at something called salivary IgA, which looks at actually how your hormones are functioning, if your body's adapting to the adaptic response of stress, right? Really, really important. The other thing is hormones, right? Perimenopause hormones, right? So estradiol, testosterone, progesterone, things like that. Follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone. And then men are a little different. Obviously, you're not putting all your emphasis on all the female hormones. You're doing more of the male hormones. So that's a really, really important test because hormones can drive blood sugars. there's some women, when I say some, quite a bit that I see in my office that they've had a child, and this was years ago, like 30, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. And when they had the child, they delivered, and their hormones went out of balance. And then they're, raising a child is a lot of work, and but anyway, their hormones went out of balance, and then it's been locked out of balance forever. And you would think our healthcare system would actually check for these things, and they don't. And that's been really a big problem, because when the hormones are out of balance and they stay like that, I don't care what diet you do. I don't care if you walk and you belong to 10 gyms. The problem is that you're trying to do that over something that's broken. In my office, as we start seeing these things start balancing out, then they start losing weight effortlessly, like ridiculously, like so easy. And that's because we're going after it the right way, as opposed to just going there and just trying to bully the body with, eating nothing but like celery and 30 calories a day, weighing your food, making sure, it's flown in from Australia. Like, that's too much aggravation. Like that, you don't need all that. You just have to get the body functioning and strong again, and then it just comes off. So anyway, that's really, really important. So those are sort of tests. Depending upon your case individually, I may run other tests, but when I have that, I could 9 out of 10 times, 9.99 out of 10 times, I could see what exactly is going on, kind of knowing the patterns of the disease. And I've only done this a couple thousand times, so I'll know what to look at and then piece it together. Can I put a plan together? Can I get someone through that yellow brick road to getting them well? Is really important, obviously, and they'll do the work. So that's the difference of the tests. But it's, like I said earlier, it's also really important for the strategy behind it. Okay, so just by doing the test doesn't really help anybody. All right, good. So Natasha asked, is a green smoothie something to go drink while you're on a protocol? So I am not a fan of smoothies at all to reverse diabetes, or juices or anything like that. It's probably one of the worst things you can do for blood sugar levels. So yeah, that's not something that I would ever recommend in my office. There's a video, did it a while ago, a couple years ago, about this topic. Check it out. If you're on YouTube, Natasha, just check it out. What's it called? Go to my channel. And I think it's called Are Smoothies Good for Type 2 Diabetics? I think that's the title of it. If you type in or search smoothies, you'll see it. It's really good. It's really good. I think it's so old, I don't even know if I had a beard in it. Jeez, sorry. So I don't know. I could have a beard. I don't remember. Just draw one in, right? They have all these editing things now. You can draw one in. So hopefully that answered that question. All right, good, excellent. Good. If you have any questions, please put that in that Q&A section. If you came in a little bit later, the chat area, I can't see it because there's so many people on the webinar. So if you have any questions, you want to put that, there's a little section here that says Q&A. You want to put your questions in the Q&A section. All right, so really, really important. Okay, good. I have a few more questions here. How do you follow me? Well, let me give you, so that's like an internet word for those of you who don't know. I will put my, what's like my follow thing. And you can go and check that out. Here, I'll put this in the chat area. Okay, that's how you would follow me. So you want to, like, if you're on Facebook, you could just click on that. If you're not in the Facebook group, by the way, that's something you should really look into getting into. It's really awesome. These are people who define the odds, and they do, like, they really are after reversing diabetes. We're not talking about some little trickum and manipulation of diet. That's not that group, but they're just like-minded individuals, and they're all after getting to the root cause of it. So really, really important. Andrew asked what the cost is. So for the first 30 people, the appointment, if you are one of the 30 people, is complimentary. So as my kids would say, it's $3 and free cents. Now there is a value to it, so don't think like there's like, oh, it's just, let me just waste this time. So Andrew, you have to be motivated. Your health has to be your number one priority. I'm not saying that as a mince of words. That's like really, really important, because I don't want to see that, if I show you the way out, you're not going to do the work to get there. So that's really important. You can't be a pre-diabetic. You have to live in Florida, right? We talked about that earlier. And then also you can't be a vegetarian or vegan. I don't see them. I don't see they do well. I've taken a couple of them throughout the years. Do they do better? Yes. Do they do as good as someone who isn't? No. So I'd rather see someone do tremendous and do really well. So that sort of thing. So yes, if you're one of the first 30 people, is a complimentary appointment. You are more than gladly to donate money, but you don't have to. Okay. So anyway, so can answer that question. All right, good. All right. Let's see here. I answered that one. How many patients have you treated? Oh my gosh. The answer is I don't know, and I should know. It's well over 10,000. I think on my website it says 10,000. It's over 10,000. I don't know the answer. I should probably actually know. Yeah. When we moved from New Jersey, well, also we had different computer systems and file systems throughout times. So anyway, yeah, we like there's yes, a lot of people. I have to have more though. My goal is to get to 1 million. That's my goal. Good. I'm gonna lower everyone's hands. So my staff just gave me the staff just gave me the update here. So this is the last call. If you were looking to get an appointment and you are interested in getting yourself better and you would like to see if I can help you, you would like to raise your hand at this point, and then my staff, if they haven't gotten to you, they will go there and actually help you. All right. Good. So Andrew went to a doctor and they had Andrew pay a lot of money. Good, Andrew. Your health is worth it. I would do it. I would definitely do it. Your health is going to be cheaper probably to pay whatever they're asking as opposed to going and getting worse, right? Like that's cheaper than 1 day in a hospital. So anyway, so I don't know. I don't know who this doctor is, but yeah, I have no clue what they're offering, what they're doing. But yeah, sounds like a steal. So good. All right, let's continue here. Oh, this is a great question. So I don't know how to answer this question. So Alex said, or Al, I'm sorry, Al said, so I am from the islands and can I eat the food? So great question, Alan, or Al, I'm sorry. So the thing is like, yeah, like you're like, obviously, yeah, like where I grew up was in New Jersey, and my next door neighbors were Jamaican. So yeah, like Jamaican food is fine: oxtail, curry goat, rice and peas. I'm very familiar with this food because my next door neighbor, my best friend growing up, was from Jamaica. But a lot of those foods are fine. Once again, the goal is that as someone gets themselves better and as things are starting to improve, then you want to go and your diet can open up as a result of doing that, right? Your diet could actually open up. So the point is that yeah, you want to go and get yourself better so your diet can open up. Not everybody who eats rice makes their blood sugar level go up. Not everybody who eats pasta has their blood sugar level go up. If that was the case, as soon as someone has pasta, they'd all be a diabetic, right? Or as soon as they had rice or bread, they would just instantly be a diabetic. It's not that, right? The body's a bit more complex than that, right? So anyway, hopefully that answers your question. So yeah, you could be from the islands. Islands are great. Yeah, absolutely. I have quite a bit of. I have patients from everywhere, literally, except for Antarctica. I've never had a patient from Antarctica, but most of the European countries I've had, Africa, Canada, yeah, all throughout. So yeah. Yeah, diabetes isn't biased. It doesn't matter if you're a good person or a bad person or where you live in the world. There are some cultures that it's more predominant. Philippines, there's a lot of diabetes there. Certain parts of South America, certain parts of India. There's different sometimes cultures that sometimes you'll see a little bit more. Maybe their diet's a little bit more off, but yeah, it doesn't. I've seen really good people have unfortunately bad things with diabetes. All right, good. All right, excellent. Awesome. Andrew, that's awesome. Good for you, buddy. That's really good. So 4.8 though is way too low. And also you want to make sure that you want to go, and A1C is not the only thing to look at for type 2 diabetes. I know that's the way you've been maybe trained. So you have to look at all the other things. So diabetes and the A1C is just telling you where your blood sugar levels are. And there's a million ways to get that down, but that doesn't mean you reverse the disease, because the disease also carries with it the autoimmune components. It also carries with it the inflammatory components, the organ components, the infection components, the hormone components. So if you go there and just attack the A1C, which you did a great job with, and you neglect and not handle these other things, you didn't fix anything. So what happens over time, unfortunately, and I'm not trying to rain on your parade, but the thing that happens over time is that the blood sugar starts going up. And now, since you went really hard at it, it's actually harder to get rid of. I've seen that so many times throughout the years where someone will start taking these crazy regimens and they'll start doing these wacky diets. And it's really it's really stressful for the body. And it doesn't lead to long-term results. So we want to get long-term results with getting the body well. And really the only way to do that is to know exactly what's broken through labs and putting protocols together. So anyway, good. Well, I'm going to be ending off. I want to thank everybody for coming. I know that was a lot of information. Oh, so Andrew, absolutely not. Worst thing to do long-term for diabetes is fasting. So sorry, Andrew. I don't mean to run in your parade because I know that you really want to get better, but that is that fasting will hurt organ function long term. We're talking long term. Anybody can do something in 6 months. We're talking about what does it look like 5 years, 10 years down the road. So fasting long term is really bad. And you could see labs before and after to show you what I mean. So anyway, let me wrap up. So I want to thank everybody for coming. For those of you who didn't book an appointment, maybe now's not the time. Maybe you live in a different state. Maybe you're not a diabetic. You were just here because you want to learn something. I'm really glad you came. I'm really glad you got something out of it. And thank you for coming. I encourage you to go to my website, follow me. There's a ton of free information I have out there. For those of you that booked an appointment, I'm really excited to meet you. I really am. I'm hoping I could find a way maybe to help you. Maybe this is the path forward for you, and I'm really excited to meet with you. So you should be getting your forms soon, probably within the next half hour. Be sure to fill those out. I'm going to study them before the appointment. So when we have our one-on-one time together, they'll be emailed to you. So just be on the lookout for it. It'll come from something called Healthy. That's the platform we use. It's very easy to use, very user-friendly. And so forth. So anyway, I will see you on your appointment. Get your forms done and have a good rest of your night. So thank you very much and take care.